Yes, sir. A friend of the pod, a friend in real life, a good friend by the name of Anthony Donahue, Anthony MSG.
Word up, MSG and Anthony MSG in the building.
What's going on, guys? Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Nah, thanks for pulling up. You know, we family.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Always a pleasure talking to you, kicking it, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, man. A lot of big things going on. Today's a special night as well for you, for you know, for all of us. So, you know.
Yeah, and you know, today, for those that don't know, Anthony has a very special story, and his sister has a very special story, and their journey is beautiful, and it's being told, and it's going to be told over and over. And today is his sister's birthday, Sister Gianna's birthday, and he's gracious enough to come and do this with us today. I know this is not easy.
Yes, it's never easy, and you know, it's still so fresh. And to be honest, if I live till 90 years old, it's probably gonna be fresh that day too. But you know, it's her first birthday since she passed, and of course, you never know when your last day on the earth is gonna be. And it's kind of crazy how like she got to her 21st birthday last year, then she passed 13 days later. So the point I'm making is like had to wait basically a full calendar year for her birthday, and then her birthday is today, and obviously it's not going to change. You know, her birthday is always going to be August 16th, and the 1 year anniversary is always going to be August 29th. So August is a loaded, emotional month, to say the least.
Yeah, man, I can imagine, man. It's tough times, man. But like, you know, you're one of the few people I know that's like, A, you share everything, right? Yeah, and B, you process things differently probably than most, right? Because you do it with people, you know what I mean? You do it with
I've never been shy about, you know, sharing things. I've kind of been documenting my life since I got my gateway computer in the fall of 1998. I actually remember the week I got my computer, and this is little Rain Man ant for you. The week I got my computer in October of 1998, I just picked up Don Cartagena, Hard Knock Life Volume 2. NBA was on lockout. And little useless information for you. G was not here yet. So point is, I've been, you know, using social media, and back in '98 it was more like, you know, Yahoo Chat, AOL, Instant Messenger. But I've been, you know, making people people have been a part of my life ever since. And I feel I do a good job of documenting things. I think there's a difference between documenting things and trying to create content. And for me, it's documenting. Not when you try hard to create content, it's kind of corny.
Yeah, it's forced.
When you just be yourself, it can work.
Definitely.
And that's kind of like what I've done.
Definitely, no, that's for sure. You definitely been being yourself this whole time, because who likes the Knicks this much, right?
Yeah, a lot of, you know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even when it's not trendy and popular, like, you still rolling.
Yeah, now everybody's trying to be Knicks content creators and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was doing Knicks content when, you know, we had Vim Baker and Shandon Anderson and
you know, the Vim
stuff
Baker
like
jersey
that.
went hard too. Like,
you know what I'm saying? So
shout
like,
out to Vim Baker.
I've been doing this. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I actually call myself a retired Knicks podcaster. I still do Knicks stuff, but you know, I might bring the show back eventually. But right now I'm retired. And I still do interviews, but
leveling up,
and doing other things as well.
So you probably know this, but I say this every episode. Like, the reason why John and I started the Homage podcast is during the pandemic, we couldn't figure out the projects we wanted to get off the ground wasn't going to move because nothing was moving. And
not much.
We decided to speak with people that A, we know, B, we know their stories are interesting, but C, we also know that, most importantly, that they're good people.
Right, of course.
And they actually contribute good things to our culture, to this world, to the environment around us, you know, and you are definitely one of those people, man. I don't say that just because we're friends. I say that because it's the truth, and I've known you for a while now.
For sure.
About 11, 12 years.
Yeah, man. You know, Anthony and I wanted to be a content creator, right? Because I wanted to do something related to the Knicks. And when Twitter first got popping, Anthony and Tommy D had like the best following. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So when I would go to Knick games, I always saw Ant, and we just started chopping it up. We just started, you know, becoming like, you know, cool. This is before Instagram, before
Instagram for sure.
Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. So
back then, you couldn't even tweet pictures yet.
No, you're right. Yeah, it
You
wasn't.
could only post links.
Links, yeah.
Yep, you could not tweet a photo.
That's crazy.
You couldn't tweet a photo till about like late 2011, for what I remember. You couldn't even tweet a
Sounds
photo,
about right.
so you couldn't like take a picture of the game and like post it on
'Cause
Twitter.
that's when Instagram came out, right?
I got my
Well,
Instagram.
Facebook was popping.
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, Facebook will always be there. Whether of course, it's not as cool, I guess, but it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I got Instagram in February 2012.
And so Anthony is he was the mayor of the Garden at that time, and probably before that, obviously. But I would go to the games and I see Ant talking to everybody. Everybody. I'm like, oh, this guy knows every fucking person at this game. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's interesting, like, to me. And much like he got right now, the smile is just like vibrant. You know what I'm saying? Just running through the Garden, running through MSG, keeping our hopes alive. Because, you know, we like these hopeless Knicks fans. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And Anthony had a radio show, and I tried to mimic it. You know, not like biting from him, just like inspired by.
Right.
And I wanted to say, like, okay, cool, like this is the kind of thing. And Anthony was, back then, was like, yo, I'll come on your show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had like one listener. And me and Ant did a couple quote unquote like Knicks talk interviews and shit like that. It was Blog Talk Radio, right?
Blog Talk Radio, yep.
The Knicks radio. Yo, do the little intro.
Well, what is up?
Yeah,
yep. Yeah, like it was it was like podcasting before was the thing, but I hosted it like a live radio show. I did an intro, I took calls, I had guests, like it was crazy.
It's the intro. Like you can't get a little sample.
I mean, I just did what is up?
That's it?
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Like first time, long time listener. Name's Johnny from Yonkers.
I called in the show. Ant's show took off, man, and then I
had crazy guests.
You had insane guests,
I had
right?
Spike Lee.
I was just about to say.
I had Kiss freestyling on the show.
Nah,
That's dope.
Listen, we love Kiss, right? That's the big homie, but like, I think the pinnacle at that time was having Spike Lee on the show. Over an hour. Nobody could get him to talk about anything like this. And people chimed in. That shit was viral before viral was a thing.
Yeah, that was wild.
You know what I mean?
Yep, that was crazy.
Spike, you know.
Yeah, we might need that audio. We might need to upload that.
Yeah, I think we could cut that up and cut like a little audio into that.
That was crazy.
Because Spike's interview was dope. This was a different era, man. Like people don't even understand.
December 2010, and I interviewed Spike live, and Twitter was just going crazy. Like, yo, who is this guy? And
what were the Knicks doing? What were the Knicks like at that time?
So the Knicks were on fire.
The Knicks were back.
The Knicks were back. Yeah. we had a 8-9 game win streak. We were playing really well.
Amari was killing.
Amari broke Ewan's record.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So yeah, it was crazy times, and no one ever saw a fan not do what I was doing. Like it was like, who is this guy?
So Anthony had like early success. You know what I'm saying? With well, not early, but early social media success.
Right. Yep.
But before that, and even more in depth, you have this whole, more in depth story with your family and with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With your sister specifically, man. So like, take us back to like the early days, man, of like how your whole, like, what's your journey? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So my journey started in a cold, wet night. So my journey started at November 17th, 1983. I was born at Jacoby Hospital in the Bronx.
Shout out to the Bronx.
Yep, shout out to the Bronx, Jacoby.
It was cold. It was cold. Though.
I don't remember the.
It was cold.
I don't remember the weather. It's November, so it probably was. I was born there, and when I was born, both of my parents were, pretty heavy drug addicts, big into heroin, and then the birth certificate under father was blank, and people always say to me like, "What happened then?" I'm like, I don't remember what happened when I came out. Like,
you just
people
born.
always like, what happened the night you were born, motherfucker? I don't know.
Like,
What kind of question is that?
I get the question. It's just funny because I'm like, I just came out. I don't know what was happening.
But what do they ask you in regards to what? Like,
so, because like I didn't meet my dad till I was 17, nor did I know his name.
all right, so they're saying like, oh, what happened?
And it's a fair question. I just answer it funny.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a fair question. I guess it depends on you growing up, because when Justin and I grew up, you know, those questions.
I guess the way to word it would have been like, did you hear what happened that night? Obviously, I don't know. I was just coming out of the womb.
No, man.
So,
entering the world.
My mom was a big partier, so my grandparents raised me, you know. And then when I was 8 years old, I just got done with 3rd grade. My grandparents both retired, and they decided they wanted to move to the Catskills. Excuse me. Oh, jeez.
That's all good.
They decided they wanted to move to the Catskills, and when I was in 3rd grade, we took trips up north almost every weekend. Looked at different towns in the area: Downsville, Delhi, Oneonta, Andes, Margaretville, and we got to this town called Walton. Found this house in the village. They fell in love with it, and 2 weeks later, the kid from the Bronx who lived off Gun Hill Road with, a ton of Jamaicans, moved to Walton with a bunch of Brads and Joshes.
I bet. Yeah.
It's a whole different world up there.
Bro, like, obviously, I'm white, but like, I'm in a classroom in the Bronx. You got white folks, white kids, black kids, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Asian, Russian. I remember Eugene the Russian in my class.
Shout out to Eugene.
You know why I remember Eugene the Russian? Because in 3rd grade, like, we was like arguing or some shit, and he called me a beach. He's like, you're a beach.
Shout out to Eugene.
He flexed on you, man.
I forgot why he was
beach.
mad at me. I was like, you're a beach.
Anthony, you act like bitch. You act like bitch.
So like, you're in a class with Asian, United Nations basically, right?
I fuck with Russians, man.
New York is like that.
Yeah,
especially
and then you get to Walton, New York. I had blonde hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
And here comes Ant with like the stonewashed jeans, my first day at school in Walton, I was wearing I had the remake of it though. These black Nikes with the tongues out, with a fitted hat with pinstripes. Like they never saw that up there. And all of a sudden I was up there. But like it was awesome. To be honest, it was awesome growing up there. Now I was down in the city.
Once you got used to it, you got acclimated. You were right.
It was a culture shock though, and I moved up there with my grandparents, and obviously they had just retired, so they were just ready to relax and enjoy the rest of their life, and they had to raise 8-year-old Anthony.
Yeah. Were you a Knicks fan back then, or were you just like you weren't really that into sports?
So up until 3rd grade, my first love was hockey. Love was hockey. My first love as a team was the Rangers.
All right, so back then you were like a big Brian Leach and all those guys.
Brian Leach, Mike Gardner, Mark Messier, Adam Graves, Mike Richter, Giants, Phil Simms, Rodney Hampton.
Those are the teams that got us all locked in.
Yankees, Donnie Baseball, Paul O'Neill, Deion James, Matt Noakes, Mike Stanley. Yeah. And then I knew about the Knicks. I'm like, I like Patrick Ewing, I like John Starks. And then in 4th grade, we made the playoffs, playing the Indiana Pacers in the first round, and I don't know what happened. Something took over my body, and I went from the Knicks being like my 4th team of the to number 1 times a billion.
Who were your other teams back then?
Well, no, the Yankees, Rangers, and Giants.
Yeah, he means the New York sports.
No, other New York sports. The Knicks were 4 up until 4th grade. And then I started really watching the Knicks and listening to Marv Albert and seeing John Starks fire threes and Patrick Ewing hit fadeaways and dunk and Charles Oakley jump in the stands and Greg Anthony with little lefty bring the ball up the court and Doc Rivers, and the Knicks went from 4 to 1 in a millisecond.
I was a big Derek Harper fan.
We got Derek Harper the next year when I was in 5th grade. And then I just I was obsessed. But like nobody made me obsessed. It's not like I got it from somebody.
Yeah, you just you got locked in.
You're locked. I'm still locked in.
And now, you know what? I like to ask, how did you feel about Michael Jordan growing up? Because I've always been a Knicks fan, and it's been weird because Michael Jordan was the best.
Oh, I was always aware he's the best.
Sure,
you want to watch him play.
Oh, of course.
He's gonna come to the Garden and have an OD game. And like it's crazy because I don't even think I wore Jordans like that, you know, like until I was probably older and able to buy them.
I definitely didn't wear Jordans until I was a little older.
I didn't get,
and it was because of that.
I didn't like Michael Jordan.
I didn't wear Jordans till about 01. When he came back with Washington,
it didn't matter at that point.
I got my first pair of Jordans, and they weren't like one of the ones that. It was like one of those like the Jumpman joints that came out. That was my first. Now I almost have every pair. I got a lot of them in Knicks colorways now, which is pretty cool. And so I hated Michael Jordan with a passion, but obviously I was extremely aware he was the best. And speaking of Michael Jordan, I never forget after the Bulls beat us in 1993. I was so into the 93 finals between the Suns and the Bulls. I rooted for the Suns so hard.
Yeah, but they didn't stand a chance.
They did. They got the 6.
I mean, Chuck had such an incredible season.
They were up 1 point with a couple seconds left in Game 6. You know.
Yeah, but once those playoffs got rolling, you seen what was going to happen.
I always say, like in the 90s, if there was one player that had a better all-around year while Mike was on the floor.
It was 93 Barkley.
With Barkley. Like he was like so unbelievable.
Yeah, he was.
I thought he could. I thought they could win.
Hey, listen, they got to Game 6, and they were about to win Game 6 until
they had a great team too.
Until Jordan came down.
Kevin Johnson.
They swung the ball around, got to John Paxson, and that was it. So, since then I was just super obsessed with the Knicks. I was living in Walton. I was in the city like once a month, and obviously in time, like when I'm getting older, obviously I appreciated my grandparents. I didn't appreciate them as much as I should have because I was a kid.
Sure.
And my mom is in the city party, and my mom only visited me in Walton one time while I was up there until she actually moved up there after G was born. But I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit.
Just making sure this thing is on point.
I was a kid and I was happy because I'm a happy guy. But I was hurting too because like I saw all my other friends had dads. Even if their parents weren't together, they had their dad, they had their mom, and like I just had my grandparents. And like people would ask because it was in the city area, it's probably more common for a kid to be raised by his grandparents, grandmother, grandfather, etc. And I'm living in an upstate country area, and people are like, "Why does he live with his grandparents?" And I'm, where's your mom? Where's your dad? Well, my mom, she's in the city doing something. And well, where's your dad? Well, I don't know. You don't know? Yeah, I don't know. Like, what's his name? I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know? I don't know. And I used to ask my grandparents, and they knew they'd lied, and that's fine. I get it. And they'd be like, "We don't know, Anthony. Like, we don't know." Like they were just probably trying to protect me, but from just getting hurt. And so was going through a lot of pain, but you never saw it. The only pain you saw visually was the day after a bad Knicks loss. You know what I'm saying? Like the pain that I was going through, not having my mom, not having my dad. My mom only visited me once, or us going to the city for a Knicks or a Yankee game, and my mom would be in 20 different apartments. Every time we go out of the city, she'd be in a different apartment. We'd go to there. My grandparents would wait outside. I'd go knock on the door. Sometimes she wouldn't answer. I was in serious pain, but fuck it. I gotta go to the Knicks game tomorrow, so didn't really try not to think about it too much. Seriously, just try not to think about it too much. I was like, all right, well, going to the game tomorrow.
Yeah.
And now how long? How old were you when G was born?
So when G was born, I was 15 years old. I was the same week. I got to relate everything to something sports related.
Sure.
G was born the same week. You want to give you guys some? Let's see if you guys can figure it out. I'm only gonna let it go like 5 minutes.
No, go ahead.
G was born the same week, August 1999, of something historical happened for the Yankees. You'll get this. You guys will get this. Not the same day, same week, or maybe maybe within the same day or two.
August of '99. I mean,
I'm only gonna let it go 5 seconds. I don't want the viewers.
August of '99.
I mean, that was the championship year.
No, David Cohn perfect game.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So she was born August 16th, 1999. And
they show that fucking game all the time, too. Yep. I should have known that.
I'm not sure what the date. It was the same week, that's for sure. What's crazy is that, like, and I'm not no, like, women's reproductive expert, but I'm pretty sure that G shouldn't even have been born.
Why you say that?
Well, it's pretty simple, actually. I mean, I mean, obviously, a doctor would give a better answer, so I'm not trying to be no medical expert here, so don't get upset with me, people.
So good.
So, my mom was, like, 41 when G was conceived, so obviously high risk for a woman.
Sure.
Correct, right?
Definitely.
My mom was doing heroin every day.
Yeah, Jesus
every
Christ.
day.
Yeah.
So obviously it wasn't like, let's have a baby.
Yeah.
You know.
She wasn't planning it.
So sometimes before the school year started in August, almost every August, from like elementary school to high school, I'd come down to the city, stay a week with my uncle, and my mom would take me school shopping though. She'd take me to Fordham or Southern Boulevard. All the dope clothes were there. You know what I'm saying? You remember going shopping there, right?
Southern
For
Boulevard.
sure.
Southern Boulevard.
I was Fordham.
I was in Southern Boulevard because he's further uptown.
I was more in the Southern Boulevard.
I was in Southern Boulevard and Third Ave kid because I was in the South. I was in South.
Never even used to have
So
yeah.
I know about Southern Boulevard.
I always loved going.
And I'm on the other side.
To
Never
Dr.
even had to
J's.
go over
There's
there.
all those dope stores. Like,
Of course,
they didn't even
VIM, all that shit.
Yeah, I love Dr. J's is my favorite back in the day.
Of course.
The Dr. J's on 34th is my favorite.
That's the official Dr.
So
J's.
Nah. The real Dr. J's is on Fordham Road, bro. Like, what do you?
All the uptown dudes in the Bronx think nothing happened unless Fordham was involved.
Hold on, let's be very clear. The OG Dr. J's is
I don't know
on.
where the first one
It's
was.
Fordham Road. Period. There's no. It's not even.
Well,
hold on, Fordham
we've
Road.
totally
Fordham Road is the
sidetracked.
epicenter
Yeah.
of you know.
I feel like
of
later
shady.
it became the epicenter.
Fordham Road is the epicenter of shady fashion deals, and like, you know what I mean. Southern Boulevard.
I mean, I was a Southern Boulevard
I feel
guy.
like Fordham
and Third
is the
Avenue
standard.
kid. Like, you know what I'm saying?
So
You know,
either-
we didn't get that was too far from me.
No, what
though.
I'm saying is Fordham is the
That was
standard.
way
All those
uptown.
other strips are like carbon copies. So if you go to Fordham,
I'm not-
like,
maybe.
you go,
Well,
no,
yeah,
like,
because
if you
Fordham
go,
is a bigger road.
yeah, so like
you know
you
what I
go
mean?
to Fordham,
It's a bigger stretch.
they had the
It
Dr.
goes
J's,
from-
the
yeah,
It
VIMs.
goes from
Avenue
it goes from
to-
Arthur to all the way to
Yeah,
Harlem.
also if you go
Yeah,
down-
you know what I mean?
To where Jimmy's was.
Yeah,
So
back
like
in
if
the
you go
day.
to
Yeah.
Jamaica Ave, you go to 125th. You got they all have the Fordham format.
Yeah,
You get that's what I'm saying.
Hold
like,
on. 125 is not a car. Is not trying to be
no.
full.
I'm not
All
saying
right.
they're trying to be Fordham. I'm just saying all those strips have those staple stores that were from Fordham Road. Like they,
Alright.
like you know the Dr. J's, the VIMs. Those are all
uptown
every
thing,
strip
though,
look
you know
like
what I'm
that.
saying?
That's all I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
Those from the concourse. You know,
I
we're from
see.
further
I
down.
mean,
in the Bronx.
hey yo, shout out to Vims.
So
Shout out to Vims and the cheap special.
So anyway, my mom would always take me shopping, usually every year before school. So I'd be with my uncle for a week, and I'd get like one day with my mom. And I would always be super excited. No matter how much she hurt me, I'd always be super excited.
When your uncle was in the Bronx.
Yeah, my uncle's not far from where my mom would always get apartments in the same basic
Vicinity.
area. Yeah, so, you know, Westchester Square area, Crosby, you know, Buer Avenue.
under the line, under the T line.
Around there. Yeah. By the way, low-key, great shopping place, by the way. The Foot Locker on Westchester Square back in the day was great. That was a great place.
And BX Sports is over there
Yeah,
too,
that's
right?
still
Come
there.
on now.
Yep. So this one day in August of '99, I'm supposed to go shopping with her. Now I didn't have a cell phone or anything like that, but I knew where her apartment was. It was over by the square actually. So I talked to her the night before and said I'm coming over tomorrow 9-10 a.m. whatever the case may be. My uncle goes to work.
Okay.
I'm 14 years old. I don't have a cell phone. My uncle's like, have a good day with your mother, and my mom's gonna bring me back to my uncle at like 6-7 o'clock that night. Cool. I walk over from my uncle who's in Morris Park over to Westchester Square where my mom is. I'm knocking on the door and I'm hearing noises, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Finally the door opens and it's my mom and Dorian, G's dad. And they just, I mean, you ever seen someone on heroin? You know, I'm not gonna act on it right now, but like they're both just like bugged out, and they're yelling at each other. They kept saying like, "I told you not to do that last night," and one was saying "fuck you" to the other, and then basically my mom just gets right in my face, and she was just like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm your son. Like, I'm here to go shopping with you. We're supposed to hang out for the day." She's like, "I don't remember," so I basically just ran away, went back to the house, to my uncle's crib. Got on his house phone, called him at work. He came home from work right away. I remember I was just hysterical. And ironically, I ended up going to my mom's the next day, and we did go shopping 24 hours after that. So the reason I tell that specific story is because, so that was, let's get you math people out here. That was August of 99, end of August.
Okay.
August of 98, August of 1998. G was born August of 99. That means she was conceived.
Yeah, not too far later.
And she didn't get clean from that day till G being conceived. Let's keep it a buck.
Right.
You know, so that's why I say, like, the odds of G even being born. I mean, me too, probably, but at least she was way younger for me. So the odds of G being born had to be, like, you know, her getting pregnant. Like I said, obviously it was an accident.
Wow.
I mean, and I don't mean that like this, and I don't mean I hate to use the term.
Yeah, no, they weren't
Obviously,
like
they were not
actively trying to have
right.
a baby
They
and
definitely
doing
weren't
it.
trying to have a family.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's.
I mean, you think about it now, like what people go through just to conceive, right? Like special diets and this and that.
And then my mom gets pregnant on all these drugs at 40, 41 years old.
Wow.
So now fast forward to 3 weeks later. End of September 1998. Yankees are going for like 125 wins, whatever. Coming down to the Bronx for a Yankee game. It was a Thursday night versus the Indians. I call my mom like 2 days before. I'm coming down for the Yankee game Thursday night. Did you want to meet up? I can't. Okay, well, why not? I moved to Vegas.
In 3 weeks?
Yes.
Holy shit.
What?
Crazy.
Her and Dorian will move to Vegas. I'm like, wow. So this is September 22nd, 21st.
Your mom's just like Mikey D from the Rounders.
On the move.
She's up and bound.
So
Jesus
she moved to
Christ.
Vegas. And they would call me. I guess Dorian got really into sports betting. So he'd call me. I'd give him the teams to win. And then I guess around December, January, January 99, maybe February. I don't know. I don't remember the exact day. My mom would call me once every week or two in Walton, and then she's like, Anthony, I got something to tell you. And I was like, okay, what? And she's like, you're going to have I don't know if she said sister or sister or brother. I don't remember exactly. She's like, you're going to have a sibling. I'm just like, what? I was 15. I could not believe it. I would have predicted a million other things she was about to tell me, and I was about to have a sibling? I'm 15 years old. Like, what? I've been a lonely child my whole life. And I remember like my grandparents, they were stunned too. They were like, so then now it gets to about March, they move to Florida. They go from Vegas to West Palm Beach.
Wow.
And then G was born August 16th, 1999. And by the time, so I didn't meet G till November. So November 99, right after my birthday, me, my aunt, and my uncle flew down to Florida for G's baptism. And that was the first time I met G. Wow. Ironically, the baptism didn't happen because my mom and stepdad hired a fake priest from the Yellow Pages. Wacky story. But I got to meet G. I never even touched a baby before. And I remember just like holding G, and I was like, oh my God. I was like scared. I was like, oh my God. And then I was with G for 3 or 4 days. Me, my aunt, my mom, G's dad, his family. And then I went back to Walton, and I'm from Florida, from like the 3 or 4 days we were down there. And I'm like, I guess I'm not gonna see her that often. All of a sudden, about 3 or 4 weeks later, my grandparents sit me down, and my grandmother, she knew. She goes, listen, your mother is not capable of raising that baby, so we're moving them up here. And my grandparents are very, very smart people. So they moved Dorian, my mother, and G to Walton.
Shout out to your grandparents. They are amazing.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
They knew.
No, I mean, that's special.
They were like, when G, basically after G was 3 months, they were like, bring her here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And, my grandmother, she had a stroke when I was in 9th grade, a year and a half before, so she couldn't walk. Mentally, she was 100% fine. And so they got them to Walton. They lived with us for about 2 weeks, I guess. And then early January of 2000, my grandparents got them an apartment across town. And all of a sudden, I went from like never seeing my mom my whole life to being with her every day.
Wow.
And being with my sister every day.
How was that?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
They had a positive effect on you, right?
It was amazing. Because my mom's cool as shit. Like, even though she's done a lot of fucked up things, like, and her and I are definitely on the right track to being cool again.
Yeah.
But she's cool, though. It's like she's cool, she's funny, and it was great having her around.
Was she clean at that time?
Yes, from G being born to 2005, 2004, she was clean. So the best thing about my mom living in Walton was she'd buy beer and cigarettes for all my friends. So we was like...
She's definitely the cool mom.
Yeah, I definitely had friends that ranged from 14 to 18 years old. We'd be at my mom's apartment. I didn't smoke, but they'd be smoking cigarettes, drinking beers. But and my mom even said this the other day, and I was talking to her. She goes, "Don't forget, I drove everybody home, though."
Yeah.
She did, to be fair. But so we had 11th and 12th grade became my mom's apartment became the hangout spot for me and all my friends.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't doing that with my I wasn't doing that with my grandparents.
Grandparents are just making sure you're safe, fed, clothed, warm.
Yep.
You know.
You know, and my mom's like, you know, how many 24 packs you want?
Yeah.
And what was crazy is that G was there for everything. G was a baby. You know, like G was watching us party at like 5, 6, 7 months old. And I'll be honest, it was the coolest thing. I'm not saying it was right or not. It was just cool. Like, it was like, yo, I got this. How many people at 16 years old have a baby sister? Like, you know, at like, you know, like it was awesome. So then, you know, eventually senior year came around and G would be at my basketball games. I ran cross country. My mom didn't miss an event. Every cross country meet, every basketball game, every summer league basketball game. That summer going into senior year, my mom was there for everything. If we had a cross country meet and it was 30 degrees out, my mom and G would be. Sometimes Dorian would go, but my mom and G would be there bundled up for like. She was at everything. And then I moved back to the Bronx, and I graduated high school on a Saturday. I moved back to the Bronx 8 days later on a Sunday. I started working at the New York City Board of Elections because I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. My uncle was a big deal there, so I got a job at the New York City Board of Elections, 42 Broadway. Was working down there, and then September 11th happened, and I was that morning I went to I was at Record Explosion at 7:58 a.m. to get the Blueprint and Fab's first album, right by World Trade Center. Yeah. And then,
it's crazy, 42 Broadway. That's the engine room, right?
Yep. I met Tax there, actually.
Yeah.
Yep, I met Tax there one time.
Shout out to Tax, man. Free Tax.
I met him there.
Shout out to Tax. Free Tax, man.
I met Tax there at the engine room a few years back. And,
engine room.
And I was in the corner of Broadway and Wall Street when the first building fell.
Wow.
I ran back with the smoke coming. I'm actually in the 9/11 study now, actually. And I was messed up for years from that, like nightmares every night. Like I went back to work 6 days later, which I shouldn't have, but I was 17 years old, so I went through that. And then, but over the course of, so my mom was clean, so she was doing pretty good. She had a job, she was doing okay. And you know, was she the greatest mother? Probably not to G, but like, you know, like she was present, at the very least. And it was the coolest thing. G was getting older, and like I really didn't have that much responsibility yet between G being like 1 and 5. I was just there. I just loved being with her. Like, I'd go play basketball at the park. She'd be 4 or 5 years old. She'd be sitting on the sideline cheering me on, thinking I was like fucking Michael Jordan. And then around, you know, I started interning at ESPN Radio. I ended up working there for 4 years. But then around, I guess around 05, I'd say fall 05. For all I know, it could have been 04. But from when I remember, around fall 05, my mom started acting funny. You know, and she got back into doing heroin. You know, and then my mom, so I was living with my grandmother because my grandfather passed in 03. So I was living with my grandmother, and then, so my mom and G were in a small apartment like 5 minutes away. But I'd pick up G every day. I'd bring her to school. I'd pick her up. Like I was doing everything. And I loved every second of it. I loved it. It was the coolest thing. It gave me a purpose.
Sure.
And I never had a purpose in my life. I never had a purpose. I'm rooting for the Knicks. I never had no purpose. And now I got to bring this little human to school, to kindergarten every day. Pick her up. You know, it was the coolest thing. And then around 05, I'd say around the time we hired Larry Brown, something was wrong with my mom. Like, she was acting funny, being super irresponsible, like wild irresponsible. Sure enough, by spring, fall 06, she got evicted. And then my mom and G moved in with my grandmother and I, which was great. Like, I mean, like, it was annoying having my mom there probably, but it was great having G, even though I saw G every day. But having, you know, waking up with her, like, you know, it was awesome. But then she was doing drugs at my grandmother's apartment, you know, too. So she was heavy back on it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So by spring 07, it was bad. Like, we called the cops on my mom to take her. Like, you know, we found 20 needles in the bedroom down the hall. So me and my grandmother basically kicked her out, respectfully. Sure. You know, like my mom, like, you know, like,
you try to put her in rehab and stuff like that.
All that stuff. Oh yeah. And she eventually got herself into like a halfway house type place. Yeah. And then around 09, she got clean. And like, me and my grandmother really didn't want my mom back, but like G wanted her back.
Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
Pause
No.
the story for someone here. At any time, had you met your dad at this point?
Yeah, my dad and I met when I was 17, so in 01.
Oh, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But he wasn't actively in your life.
No, at that time we were cool. Like,
You just met him.
Yeah. Yep.
You were aware who he was.
Correct.
You knew who you were.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Now, did these did these interactions, because they both of your parents weren't around in your life, weren't around, daily in your life around now. After meeting your dad and your mother getting clean and having G, did you see that yourself like being in more positive, or your life feeling more positive? Or
a little bit, but like I think it was G. It was day to day the same for me, but it was G. Like G gave me such a purpose, just to be. I couldn't just be an average brother. Gotcha. Obviously, I had no idea what was going to happen down the road, but I wanted to be the greatest brother to ever live. I didn't want to just be another. Oh, that's my brother. He, is whatever. Yeah. Like, I wanted to like be somebody. Like between 01 and 03, 04 ish, I was working at the Board of Elections in the mailroom. This is God's honest truth. I wanted that to be the rest of my life. I was like, I'll do this forever. This is cool. Weird, but like because there was like people in my family that would be like, this is a great job. Like you'll get benefits. You stay here forever. I didn't want to do that, but just having G around every day was just the most amazing thing. Like I said, I've never been around a lot of little kids, and all of a sudden now I got this little human that just looks up to me and literally worships the ground that I walk on.
Definitely.
So around 09, my mom. So we went from 07 to 09 without even hearing from my mom. I guess around spring 09, my mom got a hold of my grandmother. It was like, I'm clean. Can I come back? And we probably really didn't want her back. Understandably so.
Yeah.
But G wanted her.
Yeah.
G loved her mom.
She's still young. She wants her mom around.
Yep, yeah. So my grandmother let my mom back, which caused a lot of rift in the family. But I was living there, so I couldn't fight it. And it was good for a few months. Like my mom came back. I helped get her a job. She was doing pretty well. And somewhere in the middle of like, the 09-10 fall, winter, she got back on her shit again. And then, and that's when G got sick for the first time. And around June 2010, around May, June 2010, my mom started to get back on her shit. She missed G's 5th grade graduation. She missed a lot of things. And around that time, I'll never forget, sometimes when you're in deep sleep, I think anyway, I'm a great sleeper, by the way. Like if I'm tired, I can knock out on a street. So sometime you're in a deep sleep and you hear something, maybe down the hall, but you're like, do I really hear that? Or maybe you don't pay any mind?
Yeah.
Okay, so picture that. So around May, June 2010-ish, I would hear, middle of the night, G vomiting down the hall. Like multiple nights in a row. But like, I thought I was dreaming. I'm like, why is G just throwing up all the time?
Hold on 1 second. Just pause the story for 1 second. Because I think this thing stopped. This is still working. But I don't want to mess this up.
Yeah, it's not.
Such a good story.
It's not alive. It's not live anyway. So.
My bad. We're going to edit it out.
No, it's fine.
I'm standing. My fucking back. You back on?
It's back?
Yeah, we good. Oh, yeah. We'll just give it a second.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just go around the other way. My fault.
No, it's fine.
Nah, because I heard it go click.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
These cameras, these DSLRs have a 30-minute range. So it's recorded now. Yeah, but it's fine. It's going to be all chopped up anyway. It's really interesting because I know you and I don't know any of this.
That's fine, yeah. And
no, I'm learning at the same time, and I'm very interested.
I did a podcast.
We're not saying we don't have time.
No, everybody living life.
Course.
It's hard. It's hard.
Life, you don't really get to lay out everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And that's fine too. That's okay. You know what happens.
The meat and bones.
Like sometimes before I put my story out there in another podcast, there were some like people on Twitter that didn't know me at all. They were like, "Yo, I really thought you was a spoiled rich kid."
I mean,
I'm like, don't. And that's But also like they see where I'm sitting at the garden. I'm like, I don't own those seats. Yeah, I've always joked about that with like Elgin. I'd be like, yo, they see me sitting like, I got the seats I own are $50 each. They have no clue. I just know everybody there.
It'd be like that.
You know what I'm saying? Perception. Like, Elgin's rich. Yeah, he's rich.
Facts.
Yeah.
He too rich to come to the podcast.
That's a fact. Mm-hmm. Maybe pay half the dinner tonight. What an awful friend.
That's how he stays rich.
That's bro.
That's how he stays rich.
Facts.
The rich get richer.
Is $50 okay, Ant? Nah, 60. Ready back?
Yeah, we back.
Coming down in 3, 2. So, a few nights in a row, I'm hearing G throw up down the hole, but I'm in a deep sleep, and I'm like, is she throwing up? But then right back to sleep. But then like, end of May, we would be out and about, and she'd be like, I gotta throw up. What? So now I'm concerned.
How old is she?
Yeah,
10.
She's 10.
10.
And like I'm sure a couple other things ran through your head, like eating disorders.
Of course,
like
yeah, because there was
maybe like she's starting to go through her menstrual.
She had just got her she had just got her period for the first time around there. If you look at how G was, I always wonder what G would have looked like at 13, 14, 15, 16 if she didn't get sick the first time. Because if you look at photos of G 08 to 2010, by 2013 I would have been murdering boys. Not that she wasn't beautiful when she was 13, but you know what I'm saying. She never developed at the sicknesses and all that. So where she was going physically in 2010 before the sickness. So yeah, I did think, is she worried about her weight? I thought that, even though she was fine, but because she had a little belly, maybe she was concerned with that. So, but now we would be out in the middle of the day, after school getting a snack over at the bagel place, and I gotta throw up. Now I'm starting to freak out. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm far from a doctor, but I'm like, this is not right. I bring her to the hospital. I bring her to Jacoby. I'm like, yo, what is wrong with her? They put tubes in her, do all this shit. Like, she's dehydrated. So I'm like, okay, makes sense. Like, what do I know? She's dehydrated. She's throwing up a lot. She's not eating much. Okay, cool. Bring her back home. At this point, my mom is really starting to fuck up again. So we kind of gave her the boot again. She went to another halfway house, but now my mom's out of the picture now. So now it's like June 2010. It's still happening. She's throwing up a lot. It's right before July 4th, early July 2010. I bring her back to the hospital. Same thing. She's just dehydrated. Pump her with fluids. Boom, boom, boom. So now it's July 3rd, 2010. I was dating a girl who lived in Rochester. So I was going to see her. I remember saying to my grandmother, like, please stay in touch with me, which I would have stayed in touch anyway. Please let me know what's going on, because I'm really concerned. Yeah. But I'm like, it's the weekend or whatever, the middle of the July 4th holiday. So I actually remember I was emailing with my sister those days. I'm like, are you good? She's like, yeah, my stomach hurt a little bit. I'm like, all right, when I come back, like, we got to get to the bottom of this. So I was only there till July 5th. Come back to New York City. But the funny thing is that, like, her head, she never complained of any head issues, which is ironic because of what she ended up having, brain cancer. So now it's, she was diagnosed, I believe, July 7th. So it's about July 13th now. And bring her back to the hospital. And I'm like, she's getting admitted. I went in there guns by myself with G. I went in there guns blazing. She's getting admitted. You're going to figure out what is wrong with her. She can't even drink water without vomiting. So she gets admitted on a Wednesday night. Thursday, now it's Friday. I stayed every night with her in Jacoby, slept there with her, but I was working during the day. So on Friday, my uncle was there during the day. My uncle gives me a call. He goes, Anthony, they have to do an MRI in her brain to check for cancer. I kind of laughed. And I'm like, cancer? She obviously has a stomach issue. Yeah. Of course.
She's this young.
Yeah, I'm like, it's obviously in the stomach. They even did a pregnancy test on her. I was there for that. Not when they did the actual test. So they we have to I was right there. She's 10 years old, And they said to her, "Are you sexually active?" I was right there for it. I was ready to kill these people. So now my uncle calls me Friday and says they're going to do an MRI on her brain today, and they should get the results by tomorrow. And I'm like, well, Dr. Anthony says it's obviously the problem's in her stomach. Saturday afternoon. Now, but I'm not going to lie. After I hung up the phone, I was freaked out. I was scared.
Just because when somebody says that word, it's just like...
Yeah. Because you got to figure in these 3 days now that she's admitted, they've probably checked everything. They probably checked her toes. Yeah, they probably checked everything.
So they got to they want to check this now.
Yeah.
I mean, the brain sends
that's
everything and sends all the messages out. So that's
what's
probably
happening.
That's probably why she never got a headache. Because you know the neurotransmitters were coming from somewhere else. So
never
so
complained
like
of headache.
I don't want to say the wrong terms, but if let's say if something is bothering you, like let's say your chest is hurting, it could be something an organ a little lower.
Yeah.
That's but your brain is controlling the message. And
so now I hang up the phone with my uncle. I remember having dinner with a friend Friday evening, and we were going to go to the hospital right after, and I said, I'm scared. I'm petrified. Sure enough, Saturday came around, and the results come. She has brain cancer. And at that point, we had a little family meeting. It was me, my uncle, and a few friends. G wasn't there. It was in like the waiting room. And at that time, I would say my uncle had a little more of a leadership with everything going on because I was 26. I was way younger. So we all go back in the room to G. And I mean, at this point, it was my uncle talking, and I was next to him. And my uncle was like, they found a cancer. And we're all going to be there for you. We got your back. And then that night, they shipped her down to Columbia Presbyterian. And literally from that night, life was never the same. Got to Presbyterian that night. We must have got there at 11, 12 o'clock. They did so many tests. Eventually, my uncle bounced that night. I stayed the night, and life was forever changed. Then Monday, Tuesday morning of that week, we're in meetings with 10 doctors, surgeons. They're using words I can't even fucking pronounce. And they're like, we found a brain cancer that we believe is treatable. We believe it's treatable. And if we do this and we do that, we should be able to beat it. That, sure enough, over the next, say, year, the grind was insane. I never not slept at the hospital. I never left her alone there one night.
How was her spirits at this time?
Amazing. So the first night or two, she was super scared. She was crying a lot. And I think it was the second or third night. To me, this was the turning point of G's life the next 10 years. We're in the room, so G's in her bed, and when you're in the children's hospital, they really treat you like kings and queens. Like they give you the parents have a bed, a shower, and they really treat you well. So I'm in my bed. It's the middle of the night. G's like, Aunt, you up? No, it's only the second, third night there. I'm like, yeah, what's up? She goes, can I talk to you? I said, yeah. She said, why me? And now, boy, you got to come up with an answer. Yeah. Within 1 second, I just go, why any of these kids? And she's like, yeah, you're right. And after that moment, man, she never complained once. My head hurts, sure. Never complained once. And then she started doing chemo a few weeks later. We did chemo from late July 2010. We did a ton of chemo till around Christmas time. And then around Christmas time, they said, we need to operate now. So then they did a fucking brain surgery right before Christmas, 2010. And after the brain surgery, a few weeks later, they said, we think we got to do more chemo again. So after the brain surgery, we did more chemo.
It was growing.
Yeah, this chemo was even more intense. Where like if you were in a room, you got to put on a whole suit just to get in. From what I didn't, because I just lived there. And then after chemo, we went to Boston, did radiation for 5-6 weeks out there. She got done with radiation, and there was a lot of trials and tribulations after that. Had a couple of bad seizures, had to rush her to the hospital. She did everything that she was told, and then by February 13th, 2012, we were at one of our regular checkups that we would go to once a month at that time. And they said, we feel it's safe to say that she's cancer free.
Man, we're blessed, man.
And what an amazing moment. Like we fought so hard, like she fought the most, and like myself, my uncle was there all the time, like we put so much into it, and so many people that we didn't even know personally, put so much into this, and it was just such an amazing feeling. And then G was back to living, but obviously things weren't the same for her. Well, I can't say they weren't the same. Like I feel like she got robbed of so much. Yeah, she got robbed.
Yeah, she didn't have a regular.
So when G went from like 10 years old to 50.
Yeah,
she got along with everybody at school, but like she wanted to hang with the secretaries at lunch. Like me and Elgin was talking about when he would have his barbecues upstate. She was in the kitchen with the grandparents.
She's an old soul,
right?
But she was. I feel like she was always like, because we sort of known each other the whole time this has been going on with G.
Yeah.
Right. So
of course,
that's how long I've known you.
Yeah.
So it's like she has been an old soul.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
I've never been around her and felt like she was. I always felt like she was way older than she was.
But she also,
and the music, the 80s.
Also dealing with adult things.
Right.
Yeah. These are not kids.
She was fighting for her life at the age of 10.
Exactly. This is things that adults deal with, in other, spectrums. But like, they have to have a maturity level.
Of course.
I mean, in my experiences, like even with like working with children and teaching with children, like children that had experienced adversity and kind of identify with the adversity, whether it be like sickness or their sexuality or anything, they're always more mature.
Right.
And like they're always more mature and like easier to talk to and like reach to on a certain level, because they they know that that they're working through shit. Like they understand that they're working through something and they gotta get through something. So I've always seen that.
Older people, because what's she gonna talk about with kids?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like she didn't have Instagram. She used Facebook, but she didn't care.
I mean, she didn't need it. You on it. She didn't need Instagram.
Yeah, she wrote this to me in a card a few years ago. She's like, "You're my voice." Word. Like I was her voice. I was her protector. And she was in remission for 7 years, and we lived every moment. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of amazing experiences. She graduated high school. She went to college.
I remember the prom being such a
the prom. Yeah, she went to the prom. Right. I brought her to the prom. She won, which is the tattoo on me. She won Warrior Princess at the prom. That was incredible. She got into college. I walked her into her first day of college. I walked her right in. Yes, it was one of the proudest moments of my life. Like thinking of like where I was 14 years old. I was on probation for selling liquor, and now here I am walking her into college. Like wow, like I couldn't believe this. And then the first year of college, went solid. She did okay. I don't think she was gonna stay in college long. I think she was gonna head over to culinary school. Like that was her next. Yeah, she was an amazing cook. Like she was cooking for me when when she was like 11, 12. Wow. Great cook, like creative, like.
What was your favorite thing that she used to make?
I'd say like her omelets for breakfast, and like she made a lot. She was very creative. Like she had cookbooks. She would make these like, stuffed peppers. Besides the regular stuff she made, but like she was good with the fish, and she would always be in touch with Sal. She'd always text Sal. Yeah. She'd always
shout out to Sal, man.
She'd always hit Sal, ask for advice on food and stuff. And then to 2019, it was October of 2019. So it was October 12th, and the Knicks preseason just started the night before. I said, I'm gonna go to Walton for a night. I said, G, you good? And she said, I'm good. I bet I'm gonna be back Sunday. So G stayed with my aunt during the day Saturday. Saturday night, G was home alone.
How long does that drive to Walton?
2.5 hours. Okay. Yep. So I went to Walton. I had a nice time. I went out Saturday night. I was in touch with G the whole trip. I still have the text. Come back Sunday. Get back home kind of late, like 9, 10 o'clock at night. Something funny happened in Walton that weekend. I remember telling G, like, yo, I got a funny-ass story for you. So it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm super tired. Now, G was a night owl. I'm not. 10 to 12 o'clock, I'm out. So G's like, tell me the story. I'm like, G, breakfast on me tomorrow. I'll tell you the story. So most nights, the last like 4 or 5 years, we only have one TV in the crib. Most nights, G would be on my Knicks chair. She would be watching a lot of the shows G was into. I was not. She was into like Family Guy and Doctor Who.
Family Guy is amazing.
Yeah,
right?
I wasn't into it. It's, whatever. And drag RuPaul. So most nights, I'd say, 29 out of every 30 nights, I would knock out on the couch. G would watch TV on my Knicks chair till 2, 3 in the morning. Then G would wake me up, and we'd both go to bed. She'd go to her room, I'd go to my room. Same thing happened that Monday morning. The Yankees played extra innings that night. G watched TV till, 1, 2 in the morning. Wakes me up. I go brush my teeth. We both go to bed. I'm sound asleep now. I'm in a deep sleep. Like I'm like a great sleeper. And G walks to my bedroom. Aunt, what's up? I'm like, what up? She's like, I feel funny. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of grumpy. I'm like, the fuck does that mean? Like, yeah. What do you mean, G? She's like, I think I want to go to urgent care. So I said, I don't think urgent care is open at 4 a.m. I said, do you need to go to the ER? She's like, no, but I feel funny. I said, all right, well, if you feel funny in the 7, 8 in the morning, I'll take you to urgent care, but like it's not open at 4 in the morning. She's like, okay. I said, okay. And then I went back to bed. 30 minutes later. Aunt. Now I'm like, G, come here. She said, I can't get out of bed. Now I jump up. I'm like, get up. She's like, I can't. My body won't let me. Yeah. I'm just like, what the hell? Word. So I called 911 right away. She was slurring her words a little bit. And I'm like, is she having a stroke? And because of what happened 9 years ago with the cancer, nothing ever would surprise me for anything medical with her. Yeah. Because of I saw what she went through. Yeah. But I didn't know why she was having a stroke. But either way, I called 911 right away. I remember I called 911. I remember I jumped in the shower. I kept G's door open. I said to myself, this is about to be a long day. So I jump in the shower, take a 2-minute shower, put on fresh clothes. Right when I get dressed, EMTs get there. They're like, well, she could just have a sugar, like maybe it's a sugar thing. One of the EMTs pulled me aside. He's like, does she do any drugs? I'm like, no, not at all. They're like, yeah, she's most likely having a stroke. So we rush her to Einstein, which is the closest hospital. They said, all right, well, we have to get her to, to a stroke place. Then we go to Montefiore over on Gun Hill. We're there for about 45 minutes. And they said, we see the records that Presbyterian's your home base. Do you want to be there? I said, well, I'd prefer to be there. Get her to Presbyterian. Now we're in Presbyterian. It's only like 7:38 in the morning now. This should all happen super early. Right. So I remember I shot text to my aunt and uncle, just said, call me. I didn't say what was going on, just said, call me. So now it's like 8:39 in the morning. There's felt like 100 doctors in a room around her. It was probably like 5, but it felt like 100. I'm in the room. I'm just panicking because now she's unconscious. I'm panicking. I'm just like, what is going on? So one of the nurses or doctors is like, why don't you just go to the weight room? Go to the weight room for a little bit. So I'm in the weight room for who knows how long, a few minutes. This lady comes up to me and she's like, Anthony, we have to do brain surgery. So I'm in such a fog. I'm like, oh, next week? They're like, now. And you need to sign a DNR. What? All I remember I said was, you do whatever the fuck you have to do to keep her alive. And they're like, you got it.
So hold on. Before you fell asleep and y'all was watching TV.
1, 2 in the morning, yeah.
She was
completely fine.
Normal.
Completely. 100%. So not acting funny, not slurring her words.
Yeah,
nothing
until the first time she said she didn't feel
Yeah. So I'm in the weight room, and at this point, I'm just hysterically crying. I remember this older Hispanic woman, she just grabbed me, and she was holding me. She's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And finally, my uncle called, and I felt so bad. I remember he called, and he's like, hey, how was Walton? And I was like, you got to get to the hospital. He's like, what's wrong? I was like, she had a stroke this morning. she's in surgery right now. So he came down right away, and then he got there. You know, I hit Jason, our friend Jason. He lives close to there. So they said it's going to be like 4 or 5 hours. So Jason was like, why don't you come over to the apartment real quick for a little bit? And I took it. Jason came to the hospital. He was the first one there. He was there when she was in surgery. So he's like, let's just go for a walk. He got me lunch. Stayed with Jason for like 2 hours. Went back to the hospital. About an hour or two later, you know, she was done with surgery. And they said, you know, she's probably not going to awake for like a day or two. So eventually my uncle went home at like 10. It was like midnight, 1 in the morning. I was in the room next to her. And I remember it was a doctor or a nurse said, you know, why don't you go home? I said, I can't. She said, go home. She's not going to wake up anytime soon. You know, go home. And then the next morning I had a shoot for Ewing sneakers to do. And I wasn't going to do it, but my uncle was like, you know, you do it. Just do it. You'll be fine. Just do it. So I did it. And I didn't even feel guilty. I feel like, you know, G would want me to. And then after the shoot, I headed right up to the Presbyterian. It was at the Garden. I got to Presbyterian the next day at 1, 2 o'clock. And she was still out cold, really, for the most part. Yeah, she woke up, let's say Wednesday, she woke up and just kind of like, what happened? Whole left side of her body was paralyzed. But she was in great spirits. She was in great spirits. And one of the only times I cried in front of her was either Friday or Saturday night. I remember what night it was of that week. And I was hysterical, and I just remember thinking like, "This is about." If you thought,
I would sit home crying sometimes just thinking about like Yatu, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I had to be.
I would shed a tear just thinking about.
I had to be strong for her. You know, I would cry every day by myself.
So I could imagine like, for what it was like for y'all, because like just thinking like even right now, just like me, you know, me thinking about like those times, like, you know, like,
it was so scary. So now it's the weekend, and we didn't. You know, we just assumed she had a stroke. Like, you know, she's been through a lot of medical shit. This is a chance encounter with the stroke. This is it. So, remember, this is like such a pivotal moment. I was hysterical. I'm like, gee, I got your back. I got you. I'll be there for, you know, everything you need. I'm here. You know that. And she was like, Aunt, I got this. Aunt, I never forget. She said 3 different things that night that I'll never forget. She goes, I got this. And if I have to, you know, beat cancer again, I'll beat that. And then if I have to beat it again, I'll beat it again. And I'm just thinking like, why is she like this? And then she goes, the first day I can walk, I'm going to walk into Carlos. And then after that, I'm going to walk to center court of the Garden. This is only 5 days after the stroke. And I'm just hysterical. So now it's about Wednesday, about 9 days since the stroke. And now we get, you know, we see Eileen, Dr. Garvin. Those are our doctors the last 10 years. And they're like, we got to do an MRI on her brain. I'm like, fuck. I knew this was bad. They're like, we had to check her brain. I'm like, all right. So they did the MRI like Thursday. And the next day, I was hosting a Knicks Nets event at Barclays. So I only got to see G a little bit Friday. My uncle was there, and I was like power of attorney, medical proxy, all that stuff. So I gave them permission. I'm like, if you get the results and I'm not here, I'm at my event, just give them to my uncle. That's fine. So so now my uncle's not calling me. I'm in a bar right across from Barclays hosting an event, 70 Knicks fans going to the game. So I walk outside the bar about 5:30, and I call my uncle. I said, did you get the results? He goes, yeah. I said, well, why didn't you fucking call me? He said, well, I know you're at your event. I don't want to bother you. I said, what's going on? He goes, I don't want to talk on the phone. I said, stop this shit. What's going on? He goes, they found a cancer. I said, fuck. I said, does G know yet? He's like, no. I said, don't tell her. I said, I'll tell her Sunday. Because Saturday was the home opener. So I saw her Saturday, but Saturday I had another busy day. I was like, I'll tell her Sunday. Please don't say a word to her. He's like, I got you. Saturday comes, and I'm like, here we go again. But I'm like, fuck it. We did it once before. We're going to do it again.
For real.
Like, seriously, like, we're going to do it. I mean, this is going to be a little harder. She has a stroke. She can't walk. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it again. So now it's Sunday. And now 1,000 times more of a leadership role. So I'm doing all the talking. I was right in front of G. It was me, G, my uncle. And I said, G, they found a cancer in your brain again. I said, just like 10 years ago, I'm going to be here for everything. I got you. We got this. Ain't shit. We got this. So I was with her all day Sunday. So this time around, 10 years ago, I stayed the night there every night. This time around, because I'm 10 years older, little oil in the bones, and G being 1,000 times more comfortable at the hospital, we agreed that I was gonna go home most nights, even if it was 1 a.m. Because it was important for me to wake up in my own bed, get to the gym, get in a run, and then get back to the hospital.
And it was important for G to have her own space.
Yeah, too, for sure. So I stayed some nights there this time around, but we both agreed this is more important to do. So now it's Sunday night. Eileen gives me a buzz. She's like, Anthony, can you meet at 11 a.m. tomorrow? We have a meeting. No problem. I wake up Sunday. I go to Equinox in Mamaroneck, and I'll be honest, guys, for what was going on the last 2 weeks, I'm in a good mood that day. I'm just like, fuck it. I'm ready for war. I am ready for war, and so was G.
War ready.
We're like, give us the plan. We're ready, because I'm thinking the whole time it's the same cancer from 10 years ago. Fuck it, we did it once, we did it again, and so what? She gotta do some physical therapy. I'm gonna be there for everything. We got this. Right. Between myself, my uncle, friends, we got this.
What was the first diagnosis?
Brain cancer.
Brain cancer.
So I didn't know what was about to happen Monday morning. Yeah. So now it's Monday morning. I get my workout in. I'm feeling good. You get to the hospital. What's up, G? How you doing? We ready for this meeting? So I remember G was like, Aunt, I want to be in the meeting. I'm like, no, I don't want you to. But she is an adult. She's 20 now. She's like, Aunt, I want to be in the meeting. I said, all right, G, that's cool. So now it's Eileen and one of the doctors walking towards me. And Eileen and I go back 10 years. So I'm like, hey, what's up? How are you? Yo, Eileen's face is like stone-faced. She's like, hey, Anthony. I'm like, I'm like, all right. So we sit down in the meeting, and the doctor starts talking. And he kind of said, wasn't our main doctor. Our main doctor was at a conference like in England. There was another doctor who we knew, just not that well. So he was delivering the news. Kind of sounded like Christopher Walken. Oh. Yeah. Like a serious Christopher Walken. Yeah.
King of New York, Christopher Walken?
Just kind of like, so he was like, so we have the results of the cancer. Right, like that. Yeah. I'm not going to do it, but that's how it was. So he's talking really slow, and he's like, this is a very, very rare cancer. And I remember he said he goes, it's very, very serious. And this is the only time this happened in my life, 37 years. This didn't even happen when she passed. All of a sudden, my heart starts going 1 billion miles per hour. I never felt anything like that in my life. I run out of the room.
Yeah, like a panic attack.
Yeah, I never had that in my life. G, right before I run out of the room, G says to the doctor, has anybody ever beat this? He's like, I don't know. He said something along the lines like, I'm afraid not. I run out of the room. I punch a wall. I remember like 4 or 5 nurses that were working there all grabbed me. I was panicking. I was like crying uncontrollably. And then Eileen comes running after me. And she was like, Anthony, you got to get back in there with her. Get back in there with her. And then the doctor comes running after me too. And I said to the doctor, I said, what are you saying? Like, I said, what's the life expectancy? And he goes, I'm afraid about 9 months. I was just like, what? Like my life just like was like flashing before my eyes. So Eileen again was like, Anthony, get back in there. So I get back in there, and this kid, G, is in the best mood. She's like, Aunt, I want lunch. And I'm hysterical. Like she's like, Aunt, like, stop crying. I want lunch. I was like, I got you. Like, whatever you want. I got you. She's like, she wanted like a burger from McDonald's with extra pickles and a McFlurry with no M&Ms. I'm like, I got you. And I went outside. I called a few friends. Like, I wasn't going to text that information. I remember calling Elgin. I was just like, they said she has a cancer. That's like uncurable. And everybody was just stunned. And then I get a text from G like, where are you? I'm hungry.
Yeah, that's one thing. And I always say, like, G, It's something to be said about that strength that people have when they're in something like that.
And then like when she was in New Rochelle, which is more easier for me. The best thing about her going to New Rochelle was that she could leave. Like she lived there for 2 straight months, but she could leave.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Especially from your
No, you're right. I mean, I had like minimal experiences, like obviously, right? That's your sister. But the few times, like I would see her, and like say you're doing a raffle, and I'm like, gee, how you doing? You okay? And she goes, I'm okay. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. Like, are you okay? She's like, yeah.
I don't with all my interactions with G. I don't think I've ever like had ever came at her with that. You okay? Like
I mean, it was just like the first thing I said.
No, I just know that I just consciously never did that because I know everybody else.
She looked at me so confused.
You know
what I mean? He asking me this shit. Like.
And then I got her lunch, and we fought it. So they still gave us like we didn't have to fight it. The G was like, I want to fight it, and by the end of November, we moved to a rehab center in New Rochelle. And then she started radiation and chemo in early December. And then, like, when she was in New Rochelle, which is more easier for me, the best thing about her going to New Rochelle was that she could leave. Like, she lived there for 2 straight months. But she could leave. Yeah. We can go to dinner, do whatever. So, she moved up to New Rochelle right before Thanksgiving 2019. And then, we still had to go to the hospital, literally. When radiation started, we had to go 5 days a week. So 2 weeks before radiation, we probably had to go down to the clinic 3-4 days a week. I brought her every day. We had to go to different social offices, this and yes, so much, man. But like, I had to get her there. That was my job. I had to make sure she was good. So anyway, now she moves to the rehab center on a Saturday. Sunday, I had some Knicks stuff going on. Monday night was the first night she could go out. And we went. Where did we go? We went to Carlos. And
yes, sir. Shout out to Carlos.
best Italian restaurant in the area. And with some help, she walked in. She had help, and she walked in. And just the week before that actually was my birthday.
Can you tell us G's order at Carlos?
Yeah. So like, my orders usually. I mean, I get other things. Her 2 main orders were penne alla vodka,
nice,
baked clams,
okay,
and filet of sole oreganata.
Nice. Now the baked clams, you them stuffed?
Yeah.
Breadcrumbs?
Yeah, with the breadcrumbs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yo, shout out to Carlos.
But filet of sole, like filet of sole oreganata was her dish. I've never had it, and that's okay. So the week before was my birthday, and we were still in the hospital for that. G threw me a surprise party. She was told she got 9 months to live, but she threw me a surprise party in the hospital, and it was so funny because she didn't know. She created a Facebook invite for the surprise party, but invited me by accident. So I'm getting notifications for it, but I never told her. It was funny. I still have them. It's funny.
That's cute.
And she threw me a surprise party. It was incredible. And then in December started. We had to go from New Rochelle to NYP 5 days a week through the whole month of December. 5 days a week for radiation. In December of 2019, there was a stretch where G was doing physical therapy, radiation, and chemo all at the same time. Still, every night we went to dinner, we went to some Knicks games, we went to go see Cher. So we had a 2-month stretch where she lived. We lived, like every day was a party. And the worst thing was that like you'd be sitting across from her at dinner or something, and like obviously I guess we're all on borrowed time because you never know when life's gonna be up. But like I'm sitting across from her at dinner, and it's like I'm really on fucking borrowed time right now. And then end of January comes around, she comes home. Yeah. She comes home, and she's still good mentally. She's walking a tiny bit. She just finished radiation. She's still doing chemo. She comes home on a Wednesday, right? 2 days before that Wednesday, I throw my back out. So I wake up Monday morning, the day after Kobe passed. I wake up that Monday, I can't walk. So when I first wake up that day, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm 36 years old.
Early 2020.
Yeah, I'm 36 years old. I'm just sore. So I hit G like 10 in the morning. I'm like, yo, G, I'll be over the rehab center a little bit. We'll hang out today. We'll get lunch or whatever. Gets to like 1 o'clock. I can't move. And now my neighbor's a chiropractor. She was like, you need to get to urgent care so you can get like a shot. The urgent care is 200 yards from my crib. Took me over an hour to walk there.
But like a cortisone?
Yeah, I got one. It didn't help. I was in touch with G the whole day. She was like, Aunt, don't worry about coming today. Just stay home and rest. Like, you need it. I called my massage therapist at the hospital. She's like, Aunt, you got to get down here. We got to look at this. I went to a chiropractor. They did x-rays. Nothing. They found nothing. My therapist at NYP, who took care of G too, she said it was stress.
Yeah.
Like, so then now it's Wednesday, and she's finally able to leave the rehab center. So I can't even walk, but I get to my car. I haven't seen G now in 48 hours. I get to the rehab center. I could barely get out of the car. And I finally get to her room on the 3rd floor. I couldn't even push her in the wheelchair. I felt so useless. And like G was like, Aunt, it's okay. So somebody pushed her in the wheelchair. We had a aide that was going to be living with us 24 hours, so they met us at the crib. So I couldn't even push her in the wheelchair. I couldn't get her in the car. I couldn't move. And then we got her home. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was bedridden. I never felt so useless in my life. We had a clinic appointment Friday that I had postponed. I'm like, they said, well, okay, if you're injured, Anthony, like, it's not an urgent appointment, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I couldn't move. I felt so useless. So now it's Sunday, and my friends Eric and Howie were having a Super Bowl party, and G really wanted to go. And I knew the situation. So I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do my best to get her there. You know, they said they knew the situation with the back, so the aide said she'd get her in the car, and they'd help her out when we got to the crib. All of a sudden, I'm in the living room, and I hear a noise in the kitchen. G has a massive seizure at the house.
Wow.
And I moved then. Like,
Yeah.
I moved. I called 911 right away. Paramedics got there, rushed her to the hospital. We were in Einstein until like 3, 4 in the morning. Obviously, I was in touch with NYP. They're like, you got to bring her back in. And then for the next 5 weeks, we were back at the hospital. She only got 4 days of being home. 4 days. And now we get back at the hospital, and finally, it was a leap year, right? So it's February 29th. It was a Friday or Saturday. She got to go back home. But now she's getting a little worse. But good enough to go out and everything like that, So like, that Friday night we went out to eat. And then, 6, 8 days later we were locked down. So I knew where G's life was going. So I'm thinking like, for the next few months, let's have some fun. Let's go out to eat all the time. All of a sudden, we're all in a lockdown. We're living a life we've never dreamed of. And then we had all these live-in aides at the house. We had the hospice team there 4 or 5 days a week. We had live-in aides, and like G was getting significantly worse and worse and deteriorating like every day. She's still on the chemo. By the time it got to May, she couldn't even feel going to the bathroom anymore. So I had to sit down with the hospice team, and they were like, Anthony, we have to talk. Like, where are you comfortable with her passing? And I said, well, with her getting worse, it's probably better she's back at the hospital. So I made the decision for her to go back to the hospital. And then at the hospital, Thursday, June 18th, they said, we don't think treatment's doing anything more, but we can't stop unless you sign off on it. So I had to sign off on it. So I did. So I wasn't going to have her suffer. Then they're like, do you want her to go on a ventilator? I said, no. So then they Thursday, June 18th, they said, well, prepare, because it could be about a week. So I want you to enjoy every moment with her. She wasn't ready to go. She wasn't ready to go. And I remember that night, obviously she couldn't have visitors except basically me. That night, Jason came and met me in front of the hospital, and we were both hysterical together. And Jason said, no way is G going to be gone in a week. No way. It's not possible. Well, what happened? G made it to her birthday. She made it to her birthday on August 16th. And we drank a beer together in the hospital. We cheers the beer. And then the day after her birthday was probably a pretty big decline. Sal from El Barrio, he sent down all our food for the birthday. Day after her birthday was a pretty big decline. And then the day she passed, it was a weird day because the last 3 months of her life, I usually went to the hospital. I got to the hospital every day around 12, 1 o'clock because the nurses were really adamant about me taking the mornings for myself and then not coming till 1, 2 o'clock. So that Friday, August 28th, my aunt said that she wanted to go. So I was like, all right, I'll let my aunt go, but I'm going to go in the morning. So I go in the morning. I get there like 8 a.m. I stay till like 2 p.m. I leave at 2 p.m. I said I'll be back either later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, or like early afternoon tomorrow. And then about 8 o'clock, I get a call from the doctor, and they're like, you should probably get here now. And G had kind of been to me, G had kind of been the same the last month. So I thought she's going to live till fucking, another 3, who knows? It's G, she always, every time you think, like there was a time in March.
She bounced back.
Yeah. So we get to the hospital, I get back to the hospital 8:30 that night. And they were like, do you want a priest? And I said, oh, we're there. They said, yeah. They said, probably. They said, if you want to have any friends come, I put out a mass text. And then I had basically the room to myself with G for that, because and her eyes were wide open. And I looked her right in the eye. Because even the last week of her life, I would get to the hospital, I would be like, let's go. Like, you're coming home soon. We're going to live. Like, even though we probably both knew. So with her eyes wide open, I looked G right in the eye about 9 o'clock that night, and I said, I need you to stop fighting. I need you to rest. I said, it's okay. You don't got to fight anymore. And then for the next 4 or 5 hours, then a bunch of friends came down. We had about 8, 10 people in the room. And I said, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. One of my friends left, so I was walking her out. So I was gone 5 minutes, maybe 10. At this point, I thought G was gonna make, because her breathing got way better. Now it's the next morning. Now it's like 1 in the morning. So her breathing got way better between when I got there at 9 p.m. that night to 1 a.m. The breathing got way better. So I'm like, she's gonna make through the night and probably gonna, whatever. So I said I'll be back in 5 minutes. Go downstairs real quick, go to the bathroom real quick, now I walk back to the room. And the room was packed with nurses and doctors. So I'm like, oh, what's going on? And Elgin just walks up to me and she was just like, I'm sorry. And I was numb. I didn't cry. I was just numb. I was like, what do you mean? And then my uncle was in the room too, and he was like, it's over, basically. And so for a second I was kind of like, how's she gonna pass away with me not next to her? Like, this is not how it's supposed to happen. And then one of the nurses that we've known for a while pulled me aside and said, Anthony, this is how it's supposed to happen. I've known you 10, 11 years. You think she was gonna die in front of you? Like, she waited for you to leave. And then I was still numb, and like, I was in the room with G by myself in her body for a few minutes, and then everybody else was outside in the hallway. And I was numb. I wasn't, and I even sarcastically laughed to one of the nurses. I said, why am I not crying? I've cried every day since the stroke. They're like, this is actually natural. I'm like, this is weird.
So it's like surreal.
Yeah. And then we're leaving the hospital like 3 in the morning, and I said, see y'all tomorrow. They're like, what? I was just like, I got home at like 4:30. I slept for maybe an hour and a half, and then I woke up at like 6. I started just texting friends and letting people know that she passed, and then I literally, I haven't stopped crying since. It was just surreal, and like, it's not even a chapter of my life that's over. It's a whole new life, because it's not just losing a life. It's losing my identity. Like, part of Ant, what's Ant known for? Fucking the Knicks and G and the Knicks, like taking care of G. She wasn't just some sister I saw once a week. Like, I took care of her, and she took care of me. And I've been in a loss of words and I guess I'm not at a loss of words because I talk all the time. I'm always very open about how I feel. And of course it was COVID, it was the heart of everything going on. So, I would see a couple friends here and there. I never really had that group, maybe to my birthday when y'all was there for that. Never really had a big group outing. And we're finally going to do that in 2 weeks. And it's just been so surreal. Like, she's supposed to bury me. When sometimes life sucks. Sometimes you lose a friend early in life, or Sometimes, parents lose their... Sometimes this shit happens. It's not fair. And I look back and I realized, like, I think so much she was protecting me. I was talking to Eileen, and Eileen said, I promise you she knew she was going to die. I said, well, can you tell me more? She goes, I can't, but I know. So I know. She was protecting you, Anthony. She was protecting you. And it's just surreal, and, she's in my dreams almost every night. Literally almost every night. I'm blessed to have those dreams, but also waking up is a tad bit harder because, like, there's mornings when I'm starting to wake up where the dreams are so real that I'm fighting to stay asleep. But then every morning I still wake up and I'm back in reality. But every day, no matter how much it hurts, I give it a go. I still went to all the Knicks games. I still went out west. I still doing this show. I still enjoy buying sneakers. I still try to do the things I love, because this is, to me, this is not all death sucks. Obviously, it's all painful. This is so abnormal. And I don't know if it's gonna get better. I know I'll always keep trying. I'll always do my best, but there's a hole in my heart that's never gonna be filled. And
I think with when you lose someone that close to you, especially like that, she plays such a major role in your life. I mean, there's really no way to feel that except to just, like you said, you start a new chapter in life.
It goes to me. It's a new book. It goes beyond. It's a whole new book in life. It goes beyond the chapter.
Yeah, we're a whole new book.
You're right. But I had a great text from the great Michael K. And in the text he wrote to me, he said, embrace the sadness because this is part of the healing. So I embrace, I cry every single day. I embrace it because this is the power of such unconditional love for both of us. Like, any silly idea I ever had, G was all about it. You know what I'm saying? And she was funny, man. She was a troll. She trolled the shit out of me, and it was great. That's never coming back. And I have to find a way every day. But so many people over the last year since she passed, even as we were fighting together, said how much we inspired them as a team, or how much she inspired, or how much I've inspired the last year, just by sharing my story.
Definitely, man. People need to hear things like this because, outside of the rare, the rare cancer that led to this, like, loss is extremely common.
Of course.
And experienced by everybody on a daily basis. And like someone like you that, you might take your situation for granted because you're living it.
Yeah.
But there's people that look up to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like that beyond what you do, and then to see you share your experiences with them and the good and bad.
Yeah, I've always been
very
open about stuff. My whole life, as I said. Back to the Gateway in '98.
Yeah, but this is different.
No, of course.
This is different. This is not something to really, even if you are an open person, this is some like real shit. Because you're like, you pulled everything away, and in real time shared exactly what you and G are going through. That was G. So that all my sharing the last few years, like literally documenting as I wheeled her into radiation, be like, yo, what up, Grammars? We're heading to radiation right now. That was all G's idea. Like, that wasn't like Ant being Ant. Like that G told me, I want you, because G would never promote herself. Her brother was kind of a self-promoter. So G wanted me to document the story as it happened, because she wanted to show people, she wanted to document her fight, because she said she was fighting for everybody else, that she wanted people to know it's going to be okay. So she wanted me, through my platform, to share our story as we went through it in real time. That was her. That was her wanting me to do it, to share it. And we had fun with it too. Like, we had fun, like when I, be pushing her in the wheelchair with one hand to radiation, I'd be like, I'm pushing G, I'm, doing Instagram at the same time, and she'd just be like, you're an idiot. But it was morning grammars.
I remember like some mornings, I'd say to G, even before she got sick, I'd be like, yo, G, I got a question for you. She'd be like, what? I said, how come I never see your name on my Instagram stories? She goes, I don't watch your stories. I said, what? I'm like,
I'm living the story.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not watching your goofy stories. She's like, I live it.
I'm right next to you.
So she, it was just such a funny relationship, and I loved every second of it. And one thing I preach, and I'm not saying everybody does it, since she could talk, we never had one fight. Now, did I annoy her a lot? Sure. Did I get mad at her sometimes? Of course, life. We never had one fight. We never once went to bed without saying I love you. I never once hung up a phone without saying I love you, dropped her off somewhere without saying I love you. And the last word she said to me before she passed was I love you. That was very big for us.
I think that's important, especially, with siblings and family in general. It's, you get so used to having people around, right, and arguing over the dumbest shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like holding each other to the fire over the food, the dumbest stuff, but those are the people that really, really matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
of course.
like irreplaceable. And just like, it's just there's no real way to put that.
And that's why even if we had a little, 2-minute argument, because I'm like, gee, why you gotta leave a pile of shit in the living room? It was literally over in 2 minutes. Like it was like she was like, Aunt, you're a bozo. I'm like, wait, you gotta chill. Go on, bozo. So and I felt like laughing right now. So I was like, one of my favorite stories since we're in Yonkers, so much talk about the locks right now. So one of my favorite funny stories is, I said I never let her down. So one day, I called G. It was like September, October-ish, 2015. I was like, yo, you want to go grab? She was at school. I was like, yo, you want to go grab some lunch or early dinner? She's like, yeah. I was like, I got you. I'm gonna pick you up in 5 minutes. In that 5-minute span, I get a call from the late great J. Ice Pick Jackson. His aunt, what are you doing?
R.I.P.
About to pick up G. He's like, I need you at the studio right now. You got to record a skit for Kiss's album. I'm like, you're gonna put me on Kiss's album? He's like, yes, but you got to get here in like basically a few minutes. I'm like, okay. So I pick up G. I go, listen, G, I'm gonna drop you off at home. I'm either gonna take you to dinner later tonight, or we're gonna do this tomorrow. And it's not like I ever ditched her or anything. So I'm like, something big came up. It's like something really big. So G was like, well, what came up? I'm like, well, your big bro is going to be on Jadakiss's next album. Now, G wasn't really that big into hip hop, but she loved Kiss. Sure. She didn't know all his music, but she loved that. She loved that her big bro was friends with one of his favorite rappers growing up. To her that was the coolest thing. So I'm like, I got to get to the studio and record this skit for Kiss. She's like, can I come? I was like, no. And then G's like, well, Kiss loves me. I'm like, yeah, he does. But like I said, no, G, you can't come.
It's a rapper studio.
Right? Yeah. So she's like, Aunt, please. I go, listen, G, gangsters only. Yo, she pauses for like 2 seconds, gives me this snarky ass fucking face, and goes, so why the hell are you going?
I love it.
So I was like, cause I'm fucking gangster, and she's like, yep, you're not. I'm like, I'm dropping your ass home. So I did drop her home. I did record the skit. I don't remember we went to dinner that night or the next day, but that was just, I just never forget her response. And she just paused for those 2 seconds. It was like, why the hell are you going?
That's another whole like full circle thing, because Pick is a major influence for very humble cat, like major influence for us. You could talk to him. I remember just him being around Kiss.
Yeah, I love
us being
man.
around them.
Rest in peace.
Having his influence around us and just speaking to him about stuff, and then for him to call you on that album, which actually ended up being dedicated to him in his name.
Well, this was the album before.
This is the top 5. Though.
No, but I'm just saying.
The next album.
Eventually the next album is dedicated to him.
Yep.
And him and G. Both are not here anymore. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's a wild thing to think about. Like,
No, it is.
All of this stuff is like, it's so hard to explain. It's so hard to come to grips with. But just something that makes me like,
And this is like the meat and bones
too. Like
it's
right?
the meat and bones to Ant MSG, because like people that know you, of course, they know you for the Knicks and G, of course, but like this is really like this is really what makes you who
Yeah,
you are.
of course.
You know, like all of this stuff, all of that other stuff is like the result of this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes people get caught up in the result of things, but like this is the shit that you go through that makes you who you are and kind of like shapes you and prepares you to be that person for other people. You know?
You know, I mean, maybe I don't know. I mean, there's no simple answer for loss.
There's not.
You know, I mean, we all deal with it. You know, we all have a story or two that somebody or something, you know, changed. But like, I feel like they're like the greatest teachers. You know, you learn.
Well, she saved my life.
That's what
I
I'm
always.
saying.
I told her that all the time.
Everything changed.
I told her that way before. You know, I told her that when she was a kid. I was like, yo, you don't know about teenage Angie. Like, you saved my life, man. Like, you saved my life.
You start living for something else.
And it was basically like having a kid almost. Even though like I probably had a lot more responsibility for her by the time she was 5. I was 20. And yeah, I was living for her. Like, I still enjoyed my life, of course, but like, yeah, like I was just like I remember like I'd be picking her up at like, you know, religious ed or kindergarten. I'm like, I'm responsible for a human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like, you know, my mom was off being crazy. My grandmother, you know, she couldn't do the physical stuff.
Sure.
So like, I gotta make sure to be there at this day at this time, or take her to this dance. You know, like, I took her to all the dances and school and, you know, everything, man. Like all the hospital proms, and you know, I'm very proud of myself too, and I think I should be. I was there. I was.
We all proud of you. I mean,
you know, I was there for everything.
Super honorable, brother.
No,
you know,
man,
like
it's inspiring, and for anybody that's like listening or watching this for the first time and learning about you, right? They need to understand like the effect that win for Gianna had.
Yeah.
They need to understand like the range that she, you know, touched people. It's like really crazy to see from so close.
Yeah.
Like so many people,
Yep.
radio station and Knicks specifically.
Yeah, let's be very clear about this. Like, yo, you know, you're a legend at MSG, but G is a MSG legend in her own right. You know, like they're just like, you know, as just as important. She's just as important to your story as you are to your story.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a Knicks fan that right before COVID, he was in town from Germany. And he reached out to me and he said, you know, could I visit G? And I said, yeah, we're home actually. He came to the crib in the Bronx, a cat from Germany.
You didn't even know.
We had met through Instagram, never met him in person. Nah. He came, and he visited, he came up to the house and he sat with G. We took a picture together, and I just never forget, like, he was just looking at G. He was like, you know, don't quit. Please, don't quit.
Her 21 years is way different than most. You know what I mean? Like,
I just when I think of that visit, I just think of the German cat just being like, he was like holding G's hand. I remember he kept saying to her, don't quit, and she was like, never, I'll never quit.
And I know this is not like the easiest thing to hear, but obviously, you know, you had to endure everything that was going on, but that's a full life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
that's a full, that's some people live a whole life trying to reach and have effect and have a meaning, you know, and she did that in her time, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, and again, and it's just like, you know, I just feel like especially talking about this, even though it's a easy conversation, but it's not an easy conversation.
Yeah, of course.
But it's necessary because, like, these are the things that really, really matter.
Yeah, no,
you know, it really matter, because if you can't do that for G, you can't do. What could you? Are you even useful for anything else? You know what I'm saying?
It's funny you say that, because I was talking about this at dinner tonight, and you know, I've been around the hospital now 11 years, and you know, they tell me some of the parents are not the best to deal with, and I get they're stressed too. Their kid has cancer, right? You know, but like some of them are not the most reliable, stuff like that. Where I'm going at with this is that some people have asked me over the years, even the first cancer, how did you do it? You know what my answer was? Is this day? It was easy. It was emotionally hard. But the doing part, I fucking loved her so much, it was easy. Like, you just gotta be there. Like, I wish me and G were out at a fucking restaurant, but like, this is what's gotta be done. Same with the last year. Like, this is what has to be done. So I'll be honest with you, it was easy as fuck. Like, how could it not be? How could it not be easy? Does that make sense?
1,000%.
Okay, like, it was emotionally hard, You'd have to, you know, I'd cry every day by myself. But shit had to get done. You know?
I mean, just so like people would know, like we'd be out eating and we'd be joking, laughing, and then Anthony get a serious call, and I just see his whole situation just change. It's like, hey, so what? And you just start like, talking to these doctors, and I'm like, wow, like there's a whole nother level of something going on here, and I can tell you did this from a place of love and it was a place of responsibility. You felt,
yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
Of course, 100%.
You know,
and I was the man in charge.
Exactly,
I was the man in charge
we
too.
sit here bullshit talking about this, that, and then hold on, and then oh no, wait, what's the next step? Okay, and I'm like, all right,
and you know, and you just like I said, it was easy. You know, because, you know, this human relied on me so much. So to me, I just had to do whatever I had to do. And I'm not even bragging about that. It's easy. But, you know, but that said, some parents, it's a struggle. You hear stories, you know, sometimes they miss their kids' chemo sometimes and they start drinking. And I had someone say to me, like, man, Aunt, like, you never lost your shit? Like, you never went on a drinking binge or a drug binge? I said, no. I mean, sometimes too much pizza, chicken parmesan, but like, no, like I kept my shit together.
Yeah, can't really afford to be off point.
You know, it's weird, like how life prepares you for certain shit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you not having your parents around, your mom dealing with all these struggles, and you watching it, so you knew what not to do.
Of course,
something
of
left,
course.
You know.
And sometimes it's just about being present, like just being there, like being there next to her for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like. And then knowing every now and then when you need a day off. Like, I didn't take many, but I had a few. Like, you know, like there was some days, like these nurses at NYP are so great. There were some days where one of the nurses would come up to me and say, Anthony, don't come here tomorrow. I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, nope, you're taking a day off. We got her. Go do something. I'm like, no. They're like, yes. You come, you're not getting in. But that was amazing. Like, that's love. It's like saying, go recharge for just a quick 24 hours. We got her. And like that was awesome looking back, because those few days here and there I got a day off, I was pretty refreshed, because I was, you know, to take care of somebody on that level, you must be 100%.
Yeah.
So that's why this time around I went home at night, even if it was 2 a.m, and I woke up at 7, and I woke up in my bed, quick cup of coffee, maybe go for a jog, then get back to the hospital, because I had to be, you know, as good as I can be to take care of her. Even there were times at the hospital. Last year, obviously pre-COVID life, where I'd be like, yo, Gianna, run down and eat with us real quick. Grab me a quick workout. You know, play some basketball real quick. Just to, you know, and then, you know, get right back to the hospital. Those moments are important, because you have to be on your shit to take care of you have to be on your shit to take care of anybody, but to like take care of somebody who has brain cancer and is dealing with a stroke, and you are the point of contact for all the nurses and doctors. They're all calling you. You have to be ready at all times. Yeah. And I can honestly say I was.
And at the same time, you're doing all of these endeavors.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: who was G's favorite Knick?
Allen Houston. Yeah, I mean, Allen, and G, you know, developed a very, you know, beautiful relationship over the years. Allen visited the hospital often.
And if I'm not mistaken, yours is John Starks.
John Starks and Patrick Ewing, for sure. And, you know, throughout, we would FaceTime Allen. So G fell in love with Allen Houston when G was not even a year old. There was a picture on my mom's fridge of Allen and I when I was 17 years old, with braces and everything. And G would point at the pic. G would see that picture and then see Allen on TV getting buckets, and she'd go, "My boy, my boy."
Those jerseys had the black line on the side.
Oh yeah,
those were good jerseys.
Yeah, they're great jerseys. And G would see Allen on TV and say, "My boy, my boy." Nice. And then eventually, like, you know, I got working in the sports, and G was 5, 6 years old. Like, she got to know Allen. Nice. You know, we were all friends together. You know, me, G, Allen, his family. You know,
that's dope, man. You know, let me ask you this, just to change gears a little bit. You know, we got Kimba in the building now.
We do. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been waiting for this a minute.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
You know, how you feel? How do you
very
feel?
Excited. I think it's incredible. As long as he can stay healthy, which I think he will, and with Derrick Rose backing him up, he shouldn't have to play 40 minutes a night, so it should be great. And I think the less minutes Derrick plays, the better, because that means he can cock it back more.
This is like the
I
this
think
is like
combined
the
you
best
have like a
situation.
superstar point guard.
Yeah, this is like the best situation for me.
If they play off each other well, minutes wise, days,
Exactly.
nights off, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah. Big Derrick Rose fan. I've been waiting for Kemba to come.
Yeah, I love
forever,
it.
So I'm
love it.
hoping off of this. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Ask that.
Yeah, for sure.
You
I
know,
love it.
Just what you think about this season, this upcoming season, and like the rookies we picked this year.
I think I like what we did in the draft. Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride. They look great in summer league. I mean, I think Knicks fans are summer league champions. I think, and it's exciting. This is the most excited I've seen Knicks fans since getting Carmelo Anthony in 2011. So, very exciting times in Knickland.
For real.
Yeah, this is not like trading the house.
Yeah.
Do it. This is like, oh, we have some future.
Yep.
Yo, I think
This might be part of the next book.
Exactly.
I think something for us to do, like us, I mean us three here, maybe like L and a couple people that rock with us and rock with G. I think we need to figure out maybe like a pin or maybe like a patch that we can add to our Knicks stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Somewhere, I think that'd be dope. Maybe we could think about that for this next season.
Yeah,
start.
yeah,
you
for
know
sure.
what I'm saying? Because we got to rep for G,
Of course.
especially this season.
Yeah, man.
Of course.
So, I think that should be something that we think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
You for sure. You got.
We got the bracelets.
You got to put it together.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. I need one of those.
I got you.
For sure, man.
You still selling them, or you still got?
I got to get more. I'm out now, but it's easy to
All
get.
right, we'll put the link in the bio of this episode. So y'all can support the situation and support a beautiful life, a beautiful relationship, a beautiful soul that touched so many and still do and will continue to do. And Anthony, man, like we talk all the time. I know this was a tough conversation to have. I know you have it a lot, but like it's never easy.
Never, no.
You
But
know?
I'm happy to talk about it. It's my life. This is my journey. This is my story. It's our story. It's Ant and G. It's the power of unconditional love. And this is my life. And this is hopefully I'm here for a really long time. And it's never gonna be the same. And maybe it'll get. I don't know. It's never gonna be the same. Maybe eventually you get a little better, but something like this, it's a lot. But if I could help some people along the way just by sharing my story, maybe save a couple lives, then G would want me to do that. So that's what I'm gonna continue to do.
You're doing that for sure, man. You're definitely doing that, bro.
No, we're gonna continue to do that, man. And, we got your back however we can.
Thank you.
And anybody that's listening or checks this episode out, man, tap in with Anthony, man.
Yeah, man.
At
Anthony MSG.
His whole journey he puts out there for everybody on Twitter, on Instagram.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't be surprised if you start hearing more about Anthony in other aspects of just media in general, because he has a lot to offer, just beyond sports in general. So just keep an eye out for him and follow up on him.
And pull up if you want to talk shit about basketball, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
course.
If you want to,
Of
and if
course.
you just want to talk just this Nick shit and harass, that's
Baseball
too.
talk.
That's what he's about.
Of course.
24/7.
Listen,
Yeah, it's been a heavy. It's
This-
probably
this-
been our
this-
heaviest
it's
episode.
a heavy
bro.
episode. I learned a lot today.
For sure.
And we friends for a while, but I still learned a lot today. I'm
Yeah.
happy to know more about her, and I continue to want to learn more about this, this beautiful person, Gianna, and like I hope everybody else is intrigued and inspired and touched that we are.
Right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Nah, thanks for pulling up,
Yeah,
man.
thank you,
My pleasure.
appreciate it.
Sure.
The Homage Podcast.
Word up, episode 22, man, with another
Anthony
New York
MSG.
legend, Anthony MSG. You heard? MSG in the building.
Peace, y'all.
Yes, sir.
How was that?
That was great, bro.
Great. Yeah, you all right, man?
Great. You good?
Yeah.
You good, bro?
Yeah.
Thank you
alright.
for that, man.
That
That's
was
a lot,
good,
bro.
man. That was good, man. I definitely cried a couple times. I don't know if they caught me on the camera. I don't know if they saw the tears. These cameras can catch me.
Good, bro.
Yeah.
Don't live right across the street from Carlos.
Oh, word?
I went to Roosevelt High School.
Oh, okay.
He lived
His name was on the attendance sheet.
my name was on the attendance sheet. I didn't really go, but
His name was on the attendance sheet in Roosevelt.
I technically was a part of the school.
But yeah, Carlos, yo.
The building's right behind
Once
Roosevelt.
I ordered the shrimp Parmesan wedge on garlic bread, I never ordered anything else.
I've never gotten any of their Parmesans on a bread.
No, because it's right. Growing up, we would just go in there and get sandwiches.
Downstairs.
No, the restaurant.
Right.
Downstairs wasn't even there when we were going to high school.
Oh,
when
really?
we went to school there was no downstairs.
So you were just
know what I'm talking about? It was
there
just
wasn't
upstairs.
no back.
There wasn't.
Oh, that's newer. I mean, I've been going there 12 years. Probably.
Yeah, that's after 2000. That's after way after New Millennium.
Yeah, Carlos was this the 70s.
Yeah.
It was just the top part.
It was just the top part. So like you think about it, if there's a high school across the street.
Oh, they must have killed it.
It's lit. Like, it's super. They had to make the downstairs. They had to.
Bro, when I was there, a kid got killed in it.
In the pizzeria?
Not in there.
Stabbed outside.
Outside. That was the school. That was
but it was like a part of.
Right.
He was in the pizzeria and then the shit went down.
But yeah. Once I ordered a shrimp Parmesan and garlic bread, I said, dog, I don't want nothing else.
Their sauces. It's my favorite sauce I've
I'm actually gonna go to Rayo's